Hey kids, Seattle Forge here. Got a new video featuring my pal Golf Dude 3 in one of his very favorite tanks, the OE, the Tier 6 Japanese heavy tank. So you'll notice I'm actually in the platoon, but I didn't actually do very much in this game, which is why we're featuring Walt. Speeding things up a little bit here. We are moving out of the cap circle. I'm going to go up on the hill, my German-Japanese snipey gun, and Walt is going to take his enormously armored front end and go face off with Tank Alley. Little hesitation on Walt's part here. Maybe, I don't know, he's cleansing himself spiritually, preparing himself mentally. The challenge ahead looks daunting. And so he makes his way and finds the enemy T-150, and he snakes the shot, tries to loop it over the top, a little unaimed, but wanted to get it in before the T-150 pulled back. And he's got help in the tank alley here with the friendly T-150, who is probably a little more aggressive than he should have been, but at least he's getting stuck in. Walt begins to push his way towards the enemy. T-150 is pulled back considerably. They have an enemy M6 who's sitting out in the open in the middle of the field. Well, at least he's not working the alley. That'll favor. Score is 3-3. I have a kill on an SU-100Y who was sitting out in the middle of the field. I love this. Walt pushing the T-67 corpse out of the way, shunting it so he can get a shot at the T-150, and it's unfortunately a very low roll. That is unfortunate. This T-150 plays to Walt's strengths and his weaknesses, unfortunately for him. You know, Walt has an enormous reload, around 20 seconds, with this giant 152mm cannon. And the T-150 doesn't advance, so he's trading 1-for-1 with an OE, which is a big mistake. I mean, you know, the T-150 can do about 300, but OE can do 300 and also damage all kinds of modules with HE shells. T-150. Probably something I should have taken a look at before starting the narration. I kind of forgot to do that. And I don't know whether the T-150's gun was out or loader was out or what, but just is powering here. But with an HE shell, Walt just has to hit any part of his tank and he's going to do damage, pretty much. And there we go, right on the top. Cupola smashing every bit of health he had out of him. Walt takes the entirety of that T-150's health, or as close as makes no difference. And he assesses the situation, and our team has done a really good job of focusing everybody into 3/4 of the map. Of course, we have a rogue Bert going through the back door, which is kind of interesting. Gets smashed for his trouble, but it was a nice try. That Scorpion, who's been working the park there, he actually took me out. I don't know if he actually given the name, probably, but you know, want to be considered a she? Who am I to judge? OE Experimental comes in to try and help, is smashed by the Nez, or the Dickermax, sorry. Now, the Dickermax is made out of foil and meat on the inside, and Walt obliges him by taking over 500 of his health. Dickermax is easily one shot with the OE's gigantic gun. Sure, Emmels can also be one shots. What else can you do? Nashorns? Anything in that line. Up to the Borsig, I guess, really. Okay, Walt's being careful here. He rolls back when he doesn't have a shot. He's following the last known location of the Rudy, who has been harassing him a little bit here, and is a pretty good player. Now the Scorpion comes into view. Oh, unarmored tanks, thank you. Thank you for running in the way of my gun. Alright, that Rudy is pumping out APCR too, so be a little careful. And he's trying to figure out where he went. Oh, he's behind him. But, you know, your back end's pretty well armored, but not that part, apparently. Right in the old butthole with APCR. Rudy sneaks one in. Doesn't stick around, though. He knows that Wee's gun can traverse all the way around and can make trouble for him. And you're not going to get necessarily every shot. Then Rudy does something incredibly stupid. Runs across the field here and takedown on a nice snapshot. But look behind you, the S-51. S-51, one of the biggest guns, actually the biggest gun you can have, and whistling over his head is that gigantic shell. Walt begins to back up and starts to point his gun in the direction of the S-51. The S-51's going to slip away before Walt can get his gun around. But no, KV-2 is in our cap circle, and right now I'm backseat driving, and I'm yelling at Walt, turn around! Turn around! No arty hunting. You have to get back to cap. You can't move. You're a slug. Please turn around. And Walt gets out of his red haze, hearing the blood rushing in his ears, seeing blood in front of his eyes. He manages to turn around, calm the bloodlust, and make his way towards our cap circle. Now, one of our bishops, who's trying really hard this game, is making his way back to the cap circle. He's going to try for a reset. Really appreciate that, unlike the other bishop who's on top of the hill, being a tomato. Alright, S-51 is coming up on Walt's rear again, and Walt kind of I think Walt was trying to evade taking a shot from the KV-2 on the way in, but instead now is in the line of fire of the S-51, and any second you'll hear shell land nearby. Sorry, I can't hear the game sounds. Cool. Disadvantage. Dan. And Walt makes his way towards the cap. And the KV-2 would probably have made this work, but instead he rolls out the entirety of his tank to shoot at, takes a pop at Walt, and the first thing I notice is that's either a really bad shot or it's not the 152mm gun on that KV-2. And it turns out it's not the top gun on the KV-2 because his reload is actually quite a bit quicker, and he rolls out the entirety of his tank again. And Walt gives him a little nudge. And here comes the hit. I love that sound. Sorry I use it in all those Japanese heavy replays, but it's funny. And then this is where I guess they don't really have much of a chance, and I give him credit for not killing himself. He could kill himself with that cannon just by pointing at a building and taking the splash, but instead he makes a charge for the cap and ends the game. Well done, Walt. Well done.